Scarecrow over here again. This video, which addresses morality, or ethics, however you prefer to refer to the concept, is directed primarily to YouTube user VBFL920. However, I like to think that it is generally applicable to anyone who has an interest either in ethics or in the debate between theism and non-theism. VBFL. Now, we communicated earlier in the comments section of Nicotine 2's response to the Amazing Atheists video, and I had a response for you, but I just didn't feel like I could do justice to your comments in the very small word count that is allowed us in the comment section, so I decided to make this video. You say, I'm all ears for how you, as an atheist, can account for a way in which all of us should behave irrespective of our desires. How would there be any normativity in our universe if our universe is without purpose? Well, I have to take issue with your assertion that anyone is talking about behaving irrespective of our desires. It certainly doesn't seem to me that that's the case. I consider myself someone who behaves ethically, but on the other hand, I wouldn't say I'm behaving irrespective of my desires. If we define desire as that within our individual makeup that causes us to choose to behave in a certain way. Now, we all have conflicting desires. I can think of an example of that without even referring to ethics. Say I have the desire to eat an ice cream cone that's slathered in fattening chocolate syrup, but I also have a desire to be thin and attractive, or as near to thin and attractive as is attainable to me. But neither of these is really an ethical question. You know, being thin and attractive is not ethically superior to being unattractive. Neither is eating the ice cream cone ethically inferior to not eating it. At least not in any way that's pertinent to the question as it's happening in my mind. But these desires are able to conflict with one another, and I make a decision based on whichever one is more important to me at the moment. If I'm feeling particularly impulsive, I might go ahead and eat the ice cream cone. On the other hand, if I'm feeling particularly self-conscious, I might decide to skip it. Now, let's say I'm walking along and I see a wallet lying on the ground and I pick it up and it has, let's say, $200 in it, and there's an identification card or credit card or driver's license or something, and I can, going through a relatively little bit of trouble, figure out who it belongs to, and my desires, the two most important desires at least, in this case, are my desire on the one hand to have $200, and my desire on the other hand to bring relief to someone who is probably panicking about their lost wallet and money. For myself, the desire to bring that relief would outweigh the desire for $200. I'm not going to speculate on what other people would do in that situation, nor, for that matter, will I speculate on what I would do if my upbringing or my life were very different. If I were starving to death and I desperately needed that money to buy food, maybe I wouldn't make the same decision I'm crediting myself with now. But, you know, it's impossible to say how I would act in a situation that I'm not faced with. Nevertheless, I think for you to draw a distinction between our ethical impulses and other impulses and say one constitutes a desire and the other doesn't, it's some extra thing that shouldn't count, that's silly. Because what you're really saying, if we break down your comment here, what you're really saying is that there are desires, and then there are these ethical things, and these ethical things wouldn't work if there weren't a source of objective morality, and that's demonstrably false. Just looking at the fact that there are contradictory ethical principles existing in the world, not necessarily in the mind of individuals, but in different individuals, although there are contradictions in individuals as well. But say it should be obvious to most Westerners that blowing up a building full of people is in many ways unethical. That there could be few things less ethical, in fact. On the other hand, the terrorists who blew up, World Trade Center on September 11th, felt that it was the most ethical, highest moral thing they could possibly do. Now, I'm not here to speculate on which of us is right, and which of us is wrong on that question. But it's pretty clear that both of our ethical imperatives could not have come from some higher power. If there was a God handing out moral imperatives like cards, like business cards, I don't think he handed me one that said respect life and handed this other guy one that says slaughter unbelievers in the name of jihad. I just don't think that makes any sense. We were simply brought up to believe different things about the world, and therefore about our ethical parameters within that world. Let's ask ourselves what morality is. Because this is a question, the answer to which isn't even addressed in your comment here. If morality is a set of rules that function in that it in some way, at least loosely analogous to the laws of physics, say, then yes, they would have to be objective, because they would all act upon us irrespective of our feelings. That, no matter what I think about blowing up buildings or not blowing up buildings, the correct answer is what it is. Well, in which case you're left to wonder, what's the purpose of my feelings about it? Why do I even have them if they don't mean anything? And if they don't mean anything, then it's pretty tough for you to use them as the foundation of your argument. So, that's all. It's late. I'm tired. I've been putting out fires all day. I gotta go to sleep. But, let me know what you think of this. I'll do my best to give you some more thoughts later on if you want to keep this going, which is fine. Anybody else out there, because ultimately this video is for everybody. Let me hear your thoughts. I want to know. So, thank you, YouTube, for your attention. You guys have a good night. Bye.